Welcome to Two Errors, One Mindset. This is the place for younger adults and parents who are ready to build a better life, starting with their thoughts.
I'm Solomon. I'm right here in the mess of it, trying to figure things out just like you. I'll share what's working now.
And I'm Michael. My job is simple: to coach you through the biggest challenges using the mental tools that actually matter.
Every week, we blend my real-world perspective with my dad's professional coaching wisdom, giving you the playbook for confidence and control.
No hype, just clear steps. Let's roll. Today, what we're going to focus on is taking 100% responsibility for our life. Now, Solomon, how many people out of 100 would you say take responsibility for their life?
10.
10. Yeah. Why do you think that number is so low?
Because sometimes people look to the outside to blame for whatever's going on in their life when it's really happening on the inside.
It's a great point. Why is it so much easier to point out there and blame someone else, complain, make excuses, rather than own up and take responsibility for your part in whatever it was?
Well, a lot of people have egos, and when you own up for something, it hits your ego a little bit and it doesn't feel so good. Well, when you blame the outside, it has nothing to do with you. You don't feel like anything inside of you is taking a hit. So it's much easier to do that than to, really take responsibility for something.
That's an excellent, excellent point. So as long as we have our finger pointed out there at everyone else, we can avoid everything that's going on the inside. And it's much easier to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
probably why it's only 10 out of 100 take responsibility. And it might be even less than that, because our world is full of people pointing the finger at everyone else. We talked about last week how these thoughts are formed from things that we see on the outside world. Do we see a lot of blaming, complaining, and making excuses going on in all the things that we watch outside of us?
All the time.
All the time. So if you're young and you see all this stuff happening, people blaming, complaining, making excuses, what are the chances that you might do the same thing?
Very, very high. There's very good chances of that. And it's proven. Just look at how people talk and how people approach their problems.
How do they typically approach them? It's a great point.
They're always looking at something on the outside. I know people, I do it, you do, everyone does it. We don't even notice, but we're always looking at the outside, what's going on somewhere else, when in reality, we have to look at ourselves and look at what we're doing wrong or what we could get better at.
It's a great point, because if we try to change everything outside of us, what do you think the chances of that happening will be?
You can't do that. It's like trying to change the weather. It's not possible. You can't do it.
But you could sit there and yell, why is the weather like this? Change. I don't like it. It should stop raining. The clouds should go away. And what's going to happen?
You're going to sit there and, you're going to look crazy. People might think you need help. You're going to look
crazy. And will anything actually change?
Absolutely not, unless you get really lucky. But it's not you that's making that change.
Right. The weather itself just happened to change, right?
Exactly.
But the chances of you causing that outside thing to change on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're going to make them change, 1 being no way, where are you?
1, 0 even.
0. We can't control or change other people. The only person we can change is who?
It's us.
And that's the whole purpose of us talking about what we're going to talk about today, which is, it's one of the number one things that I teach. It's the first thing that I teach in mindset to all the clients that I work with, which is, if we can't start by looking inside and taking responsibility for our own actions, it would be very hard to work with someone. Would you agree with that?
Completely. I completely agree. Yeah.
Someone has to be willing and open to look at themselves internally and say, I'm willing to do the work here on the thing that I can control. Otherwise, it's not really worthwhile to work with them at that moment until they're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, why do you think there's such a resistance to doing that?
Like I said before, it really does hit at your ego or at, your self-esteem. When some people think they're perfect, and a lot of people think they're perfect, actually. There's nothing wrong with thinking that, but in reality, it's not true. And if you want to see results, you can't think you're perfect because you're not going to get very far.
That's an awesome point. In fact, let's talk about like a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, right? Were they perfect?
Absolutely not.
What did they do? Did they constantly blame, complain, and make excuses for their team?
No, they
What,
made
what
no
did,
excuses. They looked at themselves in the mirror every day.
Exactly, because they knew that the only thing that they could change was themselves. So the more they worked on themselves, the better, because that was the piece that they could change and become an even better team player.
Right.
Again, this is the key to starting off with a positive mindset. I mean, obviously our thoughts and the way we think is super important, but even just as important is learning to take responsibility. So there's an interesting formula. It's really simple, and I wanted to discuss it today. It's called E plus R equals.
Oh,
So what does
sounds
that
like
mean?
math.
It
Sounds like
sounds
a
like,
math.
how does that make you feel? The good news is it's way easier than most math problems. Okay. So let's review it. So E stands for an event. There's an event that occurs in our life. I'll use some examples in a minute. So E is for event. R is our response to that event. So an
Yeah.
event occurred. R is our response to that event, and equals, which is the outcome. So our outcome is going to be based on the event that occurs and then our response to that event. Now, in that formula, E plus R equals O, what's the only thing that we actually have control over?
A response.
Great point. How are we going to respond? Do we have any control over the event that occurs?
No, you don't.
Right. And the outcome will be dictated based on the one thing that we can change, which is our response. So let's use a couple examples and just kind of go with this for a second. Is there any example that you can think of? Like, what's an event that occurred maybe in your life or you've seen happen to a friend?
You could think of something as simple as like you take a midterm and you don't do well. Well, how are you going to respond? Are you going to respond by studying as much as you did for that midterm? No, you're not. You're going to study more. And if you study more and more, then the outcome on your final exam or your next exam, it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a
That
lot
is
better.
the
That's a very simple way to look at the E
That's
plus
a
R.
perfect example. The only control that you have over that entire situation is your response to what occurred, right? You took this midterm, you didn't do well on it. So the only response that you have is what?
To work harder for the final or for the next exam, whatever you have.
Yeah, because if you do the opposite, which is point the finger at your teacher could have done better at teaching. What are all the ways you could blame, complain, and make excuses in that situation?
The exam was too hard. The format wasn't good. It wasn't in the notes. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. There's so much you could say, really. We could go on for hours.
And isn't that what a lot of people do most of the time?
It's what I used to do all the time. You would hear me do it. You would hear me say stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's nothing wrong. Like, again, this is what we were kind of taught to do. It's like
Yeah.
what we were talking about last week with the thoughts. We see these programs get formed by things that we see outside of us. And if we see other people blaming, complaining, and making excuses, if we see it on television, people blaming, complaining, and making excuses, if we see politicians blaming, complaining, and making excuses, what are the chances that we're going to do the same?
Very high. Like I said last week, I'd bet on it.
I'd bet on it. That's exactly right. So again, it's bringing back last week. It's so important to take responsibility and notice that we do have control over being aware of what's going on outside of us, being aware of all these things that are happening. If we're aware, that means we don't fall into like that habitual behavior, habitual thought process. Good. So that was the perfect example that you used. How about this? What about you're driving your car and suddenly you get a flat tire, you pull over, you stop the car, you go to start the car. Not only do you have a flat tire, you can't start the car. What would some people do in that scenario? What would you maybe have done in that scenario?
Some people, including me, would probably get very angry and start blaming their car, blaming this, blaming that. Well, your car won't start and your tire's already flat. There's nothing you can do now. You might as well call AAA, call whoever you need to call, and that's it. Just relax, breathe. There's no need to blame anything else because it already happened.
And will that blaming, that complaining, and then making excuses, let's say you go down that route, how will you feel when you're doing that?
You're going to feel worse. You're going to feel stressed, and it's not going to fix anything.
That's right. It won't fix a thing. Will your car still be stuck and have a flat tire with you blaming, complaining, and making excuses?
Yeah, and now you're going to be a human flat tire if you're doing that.
That's such a great statement. You're right. You're deflating your own self by doing all that blaming, complaining, and excuses. You're feeling angry. You're feeling miserable. You're feeling upset. Then you go to make the call to AAA and you're feeling angry. You're feeling upset. You're feeling miserable. What do you think might happen during that interaction on the phone?
You're going to sound like you're a little bit crazy and AAA might not want to deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to deal with us, but right, it couldn't be a bad
It might
conversation.
be a little bit different than it would if you weren't blaming everything.
Exactly. If you're at a restaurant and you treat the server, the person serving you the food, really nice, what are the chances that they may go the extra mile for you?
It's a very good chance.
But when you're feeling that upset and that anger because you're pointing the finger at everything else that's going on, you're going to take that energy and you're going to take it into whatever you're doing, and it's going to have a negative impact on that. So again, in that scenario with the car, the only control that you have in that situation is what?
Over yourself.
That's it. How will I choose to respond in that situation? I have two choices. What are the two choices of the response?
You can blame everything around you, or you could just settle down and think about yourself and what you could do to make the situation better at that moment.
Yeah. And again, the path that's always going to lead you to the better place is
the second option, not blaming everything.
Because again, you now have control. You're working on an area, a response to something that you do have control over, which is I'm going to take this action. I'm going to do this thing because I can do it in this scenario. How about like when friends get really angry? One person comes up to another friend, starts calling them names and get really like, how do you take responsibility in that situation? If you're the one that your friend's screaming and yelling at?
Well, usually I would scream back, but that's not the right thing to do, I don't think. So you got to really just say, maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe something went wrong for him. It's not personal. He's just getting that energy out and it happens to be on you.
It's a great point that you're making, because when someone's really angry and they're exploding on you, do you think it really is about you?
Rarely. It's never really about you. No.
Yeah, I mean, if you had walked up and punched him in the face, maybe he would have the right to get angry and upset. But barring that, maybe like you said, he's got something going on. And again, this comes back to the R in the equation. E, the event is your friend is yelling at you and screaming. You have a response that the only thing you have control over. Your choice is I can get angry and yell back, or I can maybe ask him, hey, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? Why are you so upset? And
try and calm them down. Don't let the flame explode, really.
Because if the flame explodes, what's going to happen?
Bad things are going to happen.
Bad things. You see it even in the political environment today. Do you see that happening all the time?
All the time.
Tell me about the politicians. When they get up, are they ever taking responsibility? What are they doing?
Well, you watched the debate for the mayor of New York, and the three of them spent the whole time blaming each other for everything. It went literally in a circle. I'm blaming you. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's his fault. It's their fault. They didn't get anything. They didn't get anywhere in that whole debate. From what I watched, at least, they didn't get anywhere. All they did was blame each other. And if those are the people that are running our cities and even our country, then what do you think people are going to think? What are people going to think? It's going to screw with people's minds so much, because if they hear these really important people doing all that stuff, blaming each other, not taking responsibility for anything, how are regular people going to react?
It's a beautiful point. If someone's watching someone blame, complain, and make excuses that's in a leadership position, how do you think they are going to respond? Again, going back to last week and the programming, we see things outside of us. They create these thoughts and programs inside of us. What might the program that gets installed when we're watching politicians blame, complain, and make excuses all day long?
It's peak programming for blaming, complaining, and making excuses. That's probably the best programming there is. Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm saying if you want to be programmed, that's the best way, because these are really important people who, I'm making quotes right now, are very smart doing that stuff. It really, really reflects on especially young people. They say, oh, this guy's doing it. That's okay. I can say whatever I want because I heard him say it.
That's right. And the young people that are watching don't even have to think or say anything. If they just watch it, if they watch it often enough, the program creation is automatic. Now they have a program that says, I need to blame, complain, and make excuses when things come my way rather than take responsibility, because that's all I've seen my whole life is that kind of behavior. That may be a little extreme, see it all my whole life, but they're seeing it in different events that are occurring, and therefore it creates a program and it creates our response to life. Thank you for listening to our conversation today. Your support means the world to us.
Honestly, it does. We started this podcast to share what we're learning about mindset, and knowing that it's helping even one person out there makes it worth every minute.
Hey, we'd be so grateful if you consider supporting the show.
You can visit buymeacoffee.com/mindset1 and treat us to a cup of coffee. Think of it as a small, kind gesture that fuels our future episodes.
Now let's jump back into the conversation.
You see it whether it's in politics, whether it's on the news, whether it's in sports. I mean, athletes are a little bit better. They've gotten better where they take responsibility, or at least they say that they'll take responsibility so they don't get backlash. But it's really all over the place with the blaming and looking for something external instead of looking within.
Can you think of an example in any of the sports that you watch of a specific person doing just that, blaming, complaining, and making excuses rather than looking within?
Well, the biggest one was our favorite, Ben Simmons. And I think you knew I was going to say that. But, you know, every night they'd ask him, why aren't you taking jump shots? And he wouldn't give a response. He wouldn't give a real response that showed he cared about getting better. Same thing goes with...
Go
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Same thing goes with Joel Embiid. He's like, I love this team. I'll die for this team, but he doesn't show it. So I think he's just saying that. I don't think that's the truth. So,
do you ever hear either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid say, you know what, I really messed this up. I really have to work on my game. I really have to improve my skills. How often do you hear an athlete say that?
I mean, it depends which athlete. There's some that would take responsibility right away, and those happen to be the premier players. And then there's some like our boy, Ben Simmons, who when he made that pass against Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. Everyone listening probably knows what I'm talking about. They asked him, why'd you make that pass? He's like, the other guy was open. He was open. That's why I made the pass. He didn't say, no, I should have been a man and taken that shot. He made an excuse right away.
Because if he makes an excuse and points the finger, who does he think isn't going to get the blame?
Him.
Exactly. But ultimately, who got the blame?
He got the blame, and he never played another game in Philadelphia after that. So it really shows that can, change your life. It changed the man's career. He's not even on a team right now. Those little things can really make the difference.
It's so true. This just happened. Someone that I know, I referred them out to another person to do business with. And so my friend reached out to that person and gave him information and then didn't hear back from him. And so I reached out to the person that I know that my friend reached out to. And I said, my buddy reached out to you and he hasn't heard back. Now, what could that person have responded? The one who didn't actually reach out to my friend, what could he have said to me? What are some of the options?
I'm sorry, I didn't see the message. I've been busy, things like that.
Exactly. And if he wasn't taking responsibility for himself, what would he potentially have said?
If he wasn't taking responsibility,
Yeah, because that's taking responsibility. What you're saying is he's kind of telling you, I dropped the ball. I didn't do it right.
yeah,
But if he wasn't taking responsibility, what could some of his responses have been?
something very negative and sort of like pushy.
I got busy. I was too busy. I had a really busy
I
week.
don't have time for that.
I don't have time. It could be one excuse after another.
Excuses.
Excuses. Do you know how he responded to me?
How do you respond?
Mike, you're right. I dropped the ball.
There you go. See, imagine if everyone could be like that.
That's taking responsibility. He could have made up whatever excuse he wanted to. What do you think I would have done if I started to read his excuses?
Well, I know you would have called him out.
I may have called him out, but how would the normal person respond to that?
They'd be like, oh, it's okay. Take your time. And then you're not getting stuff done.
And
You're
would
not
you
getting
refer
stuff done.
business to that person in the future?
No.
No, because he made an excuse. But the fact that he owned up to it, what does that tell you?
Tells you he's a good person and he's looking to get better. You can just tell when someone takes responsibility, he's looking to get better, and he might be looking for more business too, which is a respectable thing.
And you can trust him. You can trust him. He didn't lie to me. He didn't make up a story. He owned up to the fact that he made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're all human. This is that R, event plus response. He chose to have a very honest and authentic response. And that led me to say, this is a stand-up guy. Of course, I'm going to continue to refer business to him.
Absolutely.
And anyone would understand that he dropped the ball because people drop the ball. It happens. No one's perfect.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, first of all, whoever did that, I really respect that a lot. I said 1 of 10 or 10 of 100. He's one of those 10. That's
And
a
you
very
said
good
something
thing.
earlier, which was really interesting. You said it depends on the athlete because the athletes that are at the top would never do that, would never do the thing that Ben Simmons did. That's why they're at the top. That's why they're at the elite. That's why this person, who it doesn't matter who it is, has a business that's doing extremely well.
Yeah.
Because they're taking responsibility.
It's the little things you see. You start to take responsibility. You start to do those little things, and a lot of things will change for you. I can tell you that from experience. In my 19 years, I don't have the most experience. I've never worked. I worked a long time ago, but I'll tell you, the minute you start taking responsibility, life gets better.
It does get better because people respect that. People respect people because most people don't do it. Most people don't take responsibility. So if you do take responsibility, what does that do for you in the eyes of those people?
It makes you, like you said, a stand-up person, someone who can take responsibility, someone who's looking to improve in pretty much all aspects of their life, and someone who can take a hit, can take that I could be better. It maybe was my fault. Because people who can take that type of criticism from themselves, because you're your biggest critic, when you can take that type of criticism from yourself, you could take it from anybody.
Exactly. We're starting with the most important person that we can start with, which is the person that we look at in the mirror every single day, which is us. And
Us.
that person is the only person we can ever make a change to. So that's
Sound
taking.
like Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Do you know the line? I know it.
Well, it's a great song. I don't know the exact line.
The line is, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. He's 100% right in that song. That's the truth. That's the only way you're going to get change. Two people are arguing and fighting. They both want to be right. Their egos are both flaring up. It's not going to end well, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to end well. Now, I want to talk about this piece. We were talking about E plus R, the event and the response. Sometimes we get angry, right? We get angry. Someone says something to us and we get angry and we want to lash out at that person. But let me ask you a question. If I came up to you and I yelled at you, Solomon, you have green hair. Yeah, you just laughed. Would you get angry at me saying that?
I would be a little confused.
You'd be confused, but would you laugh potentially, or just it wouldn't have any impact on your emotions, would it?
Yeah, I would probably laugh and say, "Are you good?" It's not green last time I checked.
If he comes up to you, the same person says, "You really look like a pink elephant today." What would you're laughing again? Would that have any impact on you?
No, I
Okay.
hope not.
Right. It wouldn't have an impact because it's meaningless. It doesn't have a meaning for us. You call me a pink elephant? I would laugh. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
However, we were talking about these programs that got installed last week. Maybe I'm not good enough or I'm stupid or whatever that program is that we believe that isn't true. If someone says to you, let's imagine you have a program that I'm stupid. You just have this belief that you're stupid and it runs all those thoughts. I never do well. I'm that. I can't compete with anyone else. I'm always failing, blah, 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 all the BS. If I come up to you and I say, Solomon, you're stupid. What's the reaction now?
Well, if I had that program that I was and that, I couldn't get any results, I wasn't doing well in school and someone said that to me and meant it wholeheartedly, it would really hit me.
Yeah. What's the lesson in this? The only thing that came out of my mouth was words. In one set, it was, you look like a pink elephant. The other was, you're stupid. What's the difference between the two?
There's no difference. They're just words and it's how you interpret them.
This is very smart. It's just how you interpret them. And are you interpreting them, or is it a program that gets flared up that was installed by someone else? And then all those thoughts that are associated with that program start running the show.
It's the program. It's exactly what it is. And that was a great one. It does run the show.
It runs the show. You don't have to do anything. If someone feels like they're stupid and I come up to them and I say, you're such an idiot. The way you handled that was so stupid. It's as if I took my fingers and had a blade on it and started stabbing them in the chest. It's just as bad to them because the amount of pain that they're feeling from what I just said. But where is that pain coming from? Is it coming from the words that other person used, or is it coming from within?
No, it's coming from within, 100% from within.
So when someone comes at us, the real taking responsibility is what? I come to you and I say, you're stupid. You could lash back out at me. That's an option. But if you really want to work on that thing that's causing this upset inside of you, how do you take responsibility?
You look around, you say, am I really? Is this really true from the first episode? Is this really true? You say that, then those words are meaningless, just like the pink elephant words.
Exactly. Words are meaningless unless we have a program that's attached to the words that are being spoken to us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Right. So if we get upset with words, we know that we've got something going on inside that we need to work on. And that's where we can take responsibility. Yes, you could yell back at me. How dare you call me stupid? You're an idiot. You do this, you do that. But that's not going to fix the thing that caused you to flare up. What are your thoughts?
No one would get anywhere. No one gets anywhere when we yell and scream. And like I said, going back to the political stage, the debates, you can see how fractured everyone gets just by words. They say one thing and then it's lashing out. Like I said before, do we really want people who are kind of fractured by those words, by just words in those high up positions? Do we really want that?
It's a great point. Political thing in the political world, think of it right now. If you go up to someone, and it doesn't matter if you're on the left or right, I'm just going to use left in this example. It could be right. But if you go up to someone on the left and you come up with a conservative viewpoint, how will that person respond? E plus R equals O. What will they typically do?
They'll lash out and tell you how they're better, how their side's better. And the same goes on the other side.
And will that do anything?
No, it'll only pull us further apart.
It only pulls us further apart. And is it possible that potentially whoever is at the top of this whole thing maybe wants this division in our world and maybe doesn't want us all to come together? Because in division, it causes somewhat of the chaos and upset, and it keeps everyone busy talking rather than focusing on what really matters.
Yeah. I'm no conspiracy theorist. I don't think you are either, but that's a very good point.
The more busy we are with the thing that happened on television, with the politicians, with all the things that are there to divide, it keeps us away from what? What about ourselves? What does that prevent us from doing when we focus all our time and energy on that stuff?
From taking accountability.
Yeah, taking accountability and making change. Hey, can't I as an individual say, you know what? I don't have control of all this politics and everything, but what I'm going to do is my choice is to spread love and kindness. And I'm going to do that when I talk to Solomon today. And when I talk to my client today, I'm going to do that. And when I talk to my friend, I'm going to do that. Like those are places that we use the R, we take our response and we push it out into the world that way. And do
Yes.
you think that makes a difference?
100%.
So kind of wrap this all up. E plus R equals O. There's always an event. There's going to be the next event after that event occurs, and there's going to be the next event after that. And there's always going to be some kind of an outcome. And the only thing that we have control over is what? Is our response. And so how do you think we can practice this on a day-to-day basis now?
You can pick out every little situation that you're in and break it down into that. And you'll start to see, if you really break it down and apply what we just talked about, you're going to see change.
You're going to see change. Exactly. You don't have to do it with every single event that occurs in your life. But you know what? To practice, you say, today, I'm going to focus on one time. What's one event that occurred today? And then run it through. Here's the event. Here was the outcome. What was my response? How could I have had a better response? Maybe that was a great response. But if it wasn't, what could I do better this next time? And if we just practice that a little bit every day, what do you think happens in the long run?
Big, big change for the good.
And when you take responsibility and people see you do it, what might they do the next time they run into a situation?
They might do what you did. And most of the time they will.
Exactly. Like that guy who did the thing where he said, you know what, I dropped the ball. That made me feel like, wow, you know what, that's right. And the next time I drop the ball, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say I dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't need to give any more reasons than that. I dropped the ball. Here's what I'm going to do to correct it. Period. Yeah. All right. So that said, what's your message today for everyone that's listening?
To remember that E plus R equals O is more important than any math problem you ever learned in school.
That's a great point. This equation is probably the most important equation in our life. Let me ask you this. If everyone applied this E plus R equals O in their lives, what do you think the world would look like?
I'm not going to say it would look insanely better because, we're not trying to save the world here, but there would be a difference. There'd definitely be a positive difference.
Even break it down into a family. If the family just says, hey, you know what? We're going to take this on as a family, as a project. We're going to do this E plus R equals O, and we're going to all take responsibility for our own actions. What do you think happens in that family?
Everyone will stop blaming each other. That's the first thing that's going to happen, which is a great thing for families. Like a family where no one's blaming each other, it's like that's as good as it gets. And then they're going to start looking at what they could do better. Everyone's going to improve. And all of a sudden you have a whole new family.
And all by doing what?
E plus R equals O.
That's it. So everyone out there that's listening, practice it. Keep it simple. Remember, you can always lash out at other people. You can always respond in a negative way, but ultimately that's never going to change the situation. And the only thing that we ever have the ability to change is the person that looks back at you in the mirror. And you know very well who that is because you've seen that person many times today. So practice. On that note, again, if you're finding this content interesting, share it with someone. What you share with them could seriously have an impact in their life. And potentially they'll share it with someone else, and then it starts to ripple out and it helps other people. So that said, have a wonderful day. And Solomon, we'll see everyone next week.
Yes. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for being here and dealing with us. And we will see you next week.
That brings us to the end of the conversation today. We truly hope you leave here with a few new tools for your mindset toolbox.
If anything we talked about today, from challenging your beliefs to taking that 1% step, resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it.
Our goal is to bridge the gap between generations. If you know a young adult who's struggling with self-doubt or a parent who could use a fresh perspective, please share this episode with them.
You never know which simple questions or ideas might change someone's entire week or even their whole outlook.
You can find our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you again for being a part of our mindset community. We'll see you next time.